Okay. Hello, everybody. So today guest Andrew Joseph Keith. How to spell properly? Sorry, Keith or Kate? Keith. Keith. Mm, okay. Oh, oh, nice. Yeah. So, master sculptor, and I seen your works. It's fantastic. I think it's amazing. Like definitely like 10,000 plus hours. Yeah. So, and I was just like surprised to find your like based comments and just you were speaking about like all these issues and which I think is important to like have more conservative voices from in art community, because like I sometimes feel like so much isolated and kind of, it's like everybody turns so like far left, and there's kind of aggressive. You just say something and they immediately like call you Nazi and stuff. That's so kind of discouraging. Yeah. So yeah, and make a disclaimer. So this might be like political today. We can talk about this, which I kind of I don't consider it like a political content. I think it's just adult conversations, because if you adult when you grow up, you cannot avoid politics. It's just it's a social life. It's like grown up problems, and if politics not concern you, maybe because you're children and parents take care of you, or maybe because you're like adult child and you need to grow up. So I think it's important.
All of those things, morals, religion, politics, they all kind of touch each other. And I think that they're really interconnected with art. I don't think you can really separate art from those things entirely, because art, particularly figurative art, usually you're trying to convey some sort of message, or you're sculpting a specific person, or those things. If you're trying to say anything, you're communicating, and that's going to have implications depending on your worldview. And so I do think the job of the artist is to express that, to be honest as they can be, even though it's hard. Particularly as conservative artists, it's hard to be honest, but I do think it's a better way to go about things.
Yeah, so we are not kind of working with some virtual reality to save ourselves from problems. It's like opposite. We reflect in reality. We help people to be more engaged, to be able to process and not like overwhelmed with unknown, like heavy information kind of. So this
Mm.
is how I think what art actually do, right?
Yeah, I think in its proper form, now they've tried to blur. Well, I guess, the world, art used to be very academic, and there was rules, and you would have specific trainings, and there was, borders between everything, and then they kind of that's all become blurred, and so now they say art basically doesn't have any purpose. And so if it doesn't have any purpose, then there's no better art or worse art. It's all just relative, and so I kind of push against that. I definitely think that there is good art, there's bad art. Art has a purpose, and that purpose is to point us towards the transcendent, to point us towards something beyond material things. If everything's just material, then, like, why is a stone in a certain shape more valuable than another shape? Like, why does removing material make it more valuable? It's because it conveys a message, and it points us to something beyond the physical matter that it is. And so I think that's why art's important, and I think that's why, particularly traditional conservative, or I guess just traditional artists, I think we do have to have an appreciation of that as people that want to conserve the good things about society. And so that's just what I'm trying to do with my art. I do think it's an important thing. So.
Yeah, yeah, agree totally. So when you decide to be artist, like or sculptor, how does this happen in your life?
So I was going to school originally for physical therapy. I thought somebody said, "Oh, you'd be a good physical therapist because you like helping people," and so that's what I went to school for. I was at Utah State University, and I took a and I took some art classes, and I just loved taking art classes with any credit that I could fit in. I loved art classes, and then I took a sculpting class and felt that I really connected with it. And eventually, I just decided I had to try to make art work, even
Mm-hmm.
though I knew it's it's something that's hard to monetize. It's hard to make it, but I was kind of the type of person where if I did anything else, I'd just be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think you kind of have to have that mentality as an artist where it's just so you just want to do it so much that you're willing to go through the difficulties that is being an artist and so I decided that I would do it and I went a little bit different of a path than most artists. I went on to pretty quickly before I even graduated from college. I knew that I wanted to teach online, and so I started building the courses. The figure sculpting course is something that I started in college, and it was like 2 years of working on that. And so I guess I kind of went backwards, where I really jumped right into the teaching element of art because I enjoyed that and I had a passion for it, and um, I liked the feeling of learning new things and trying new things, studying new things, and then sharing that with other people. That was something that I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed about the creative artistic process. So that was maybe like most artists, if they were going to go into teaching, they would have like got a teaching degree and then try to be a traditional teacher. But I really liked the idea of doing it online. I felt like online education was a better value for the information that you're getting. You're able to study basically from the best instructors around the world if they've created a course. And so I liked that aspect of it. So while sculptors and people were going in all sorts of different directions, I liked the idea of having an online course that I could where I could teach people and it would be kind of recurring revenue where I would be able to put a lot of time into it and build a course. And then once people can purchase it, then I would have a little bit more freedom to work on my own projects because hopefully that revenue would become recurring. And so that was my thought process and the reason that um, the reason that I did it is I just loved it too much to not try to make it work, and I'm still trying to make it work. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, agree. Yeah, it's just like if you stop doing it, it's like you losing any meaning in life. It's like you
yeah,
losing core. Mm.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's like sculpture been from beginning for you. It's your first art. It's a sculpture.
No, no, I was always interested in drawing. I always liked people, so I was
Hmm.
as long as I can remember, I've liked drawing and had a sketchbook. You know, I like to fill up sketchbooks and those types of things and learn about how to draw. But
Hmm.
after I took my first sculpting class in college, I felt like I was almost better at sculpting than I was at drawing, even though I'd been drawing basically my whole life. So I felt like my
Hmm.
brain just connected a little bit more with working in 3D, and so that's why I made that my focus. But I still enjoy drawing. I still like to get back into painting. I just haven't. I've just had the focus be sculpture for the last 8 or so years.
Hmm. Yeah, I've been because me, I will go to art college, and it was like academia education when they teach like m- all fine arts is essential kind of directions. I don't know how to say. So it's like drawing, watercolor, life drawing. When we draw models, we draw real life environments. Like we have this task, we need to draw surroundings, like people in a natural environment, kind of, let's say. And we
Mhm.
also have sculpture class, and one part of sculpture class was to sculpt head parts like ears, nose, eye, and just to better understand form. And then also kind of going on, there was should be like anatomy, full body sculpture, all this, because
Mhm.
like very important, right, to have this overall idea. Yeah. So, and I tried this. I also enjoy it a lot. And even once I tried to change for sculpture because I was kind of disappointed with my kind of classmates. I think like it feels like my group, everybody's so lazy and they're more like distracting than help to study, you know. And I've been watching sculpture department. Everybody always they kind of feel like more grown up because I think like sculpture is less forgiving. Like if you don't know what you're doing, it's always evident. You can always see like your real skill in the work. In the painting, we can hide. We can put like muscle in the shadow or like any detail. We can stretch and call it a style.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I went to sculpture, and there was like even experimental sculpture class with a real like renowned sculpture artists. And in the first day, teacher he came and he say like metaphor. He say sculpture is like very sensitive woman. If you not completely dedicated to it, she will like was like jealous or like she will angry at you. Kind of. And
Interesting.
yeah, so and I like wow, and it was so powerful kind of image. And I walk home and I realize I just cannot give up on the painting. Because I walk in the street and I see all these colors and like wow no, I cannot do this dedication. Like I will always need to draw and paint. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I definitely think that there is some value in being able to do both if you're an artist. I think having a sketchbook is basically essential for any type of artist, just being able to put down visual ideas, even if you're a sculptor. And then if you're an artist, if you like drawing or painting, doing an crochet sculpture at some point in your life where you sculpt the bones and then the muscles on top, if you do anything figurative, that's like worth 10,000 drawings in my opinion, just because you
Mhm.
have to the muscles from you have to shape them right and you have to put them from where they start to where they begin and you see how they wrap around the figure and you do each muscle and so it's you just gain so much knowledge from that. I'd like to do probably the next course that I'll be working on will be an a crochet course that dives a little bit deeper into anatomy because I do think that that's one of the best ways to fairly quickly, even though sculpture isn't very quick, but quickly gain a really better understanding of the form of and the muscles anatomy, which is something all artists struggle with because it's so complex.
Yeah, I see. I from time to time I find some like materials from such Ekarchek sculpture classes, and I like how clear it's how it shows all the shapes and like really very nice like plastic of muscle groups. So it's definitely, yeah, I will go. I think I will join this class. I will look like what kind of financial situation I will have. But
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
yeah, that's tricky as an artist for sure. Yeah,
But yeah, I will
but
try to join
yeah,
and I will recommend everybody. Yeah, it's definitely great stuff.
yeah, yeah. I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it, and it is to be great at anything is you do have to dedicate quite a bit of time to if you want to be good at anything. But no, you don't have to be good to start, and you don't have to want to do it professionally or to make money out of it to enjoy it. So I think most of the people that I teach, they probably just enjoy it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's also like it has value in just having something that you can work on and improve. And I just really enjoy that part of teaching to help somebody to do something that they weren't able to do before is something that I really like being a part of that growth process. And so that's why I've focused so much on teaching, um because I do think that it's a worthwhile thing to teach, to learn, to always be learning, kind of have that mindset of if you're an artist or really whatever, if you're just a human being, you should always be learning and trying to gain experience and get better at whatever your vocation is and get better
Mhm.
at whatever skills you're trying to build.
Yeah, great. I agree. Entirely agree. Yeah. Here, Charlene asks question, just like a comment. Sculpture require a little more room. That may be a reason why some prefer doing 2 dimensions. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. If you're doing traditional sculpture, especially like this one, I mean, this sculpture is probably 120 pounds. What is that, like 60, 70 kilos? And so it's getting heavy, and it just does take up space. I mean, you can see, I don't know if you can see some of the sculptures back there. I
yes,
have a
yes.
shelf of sculptures that I've been working on in the past, and I try to keep those originals. So it does take up a little space, but you can do, like, I've made small gesture studies that are just, they're the size of your hand or smaller, and you can do those gesture studies and really build up the ability to do those, or do small, like, polymer clay portraits. I've seen those are popular sometimes on social media.
Mm,
You'll see portraits of famous people, and they do those really small scale. So you can work small, and so it doesn't have to take up a lot of room. When I started, we were living in a 1 bedroom apartment while I was going to school, and I was married, and I didn't have really any room. I mean, there was some space for stuff that I was working on at the college, but then once I graduated, we moved to a 2 bedroom apartment, and there still wasn't a lot of space. And then finally we moved to, this house where I'm at now, which is in Iowa, and now I have a barn that I'm able to work with, and I have a lot of space, and so I can fill it up with sculptures. So space is a thing, but I was sculpting even when I didn't have space, and you don't have to do large sculptures. You can do small stuff, and uh, the things that you learn working at a small scale, they'll stick with you. Anatomy, gesture, proportion, those
mm-hmm,
will stick with you if you decide that you want to do something bigger.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, right. Same like with the drawing. Like I draw a lot in the average size, but then when I start to draw on the murals, like 3 meter high and like huge walls, it feels like same after like 1 hour. You feel like you're drawing on the paper. You just like need to move around.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Oh, so
Yeah,
what else
so mhm,
did you have other questions? You reached out, um,
mhm.
on Instagram. What was it that piqued your curiosity that made you want to do this interview? And I'd be
Uh,
curious
you
to know.
know, Yeah, like I say in general, like my idea it's to connect more artists to create this like sense of community, so we know each other. Also introduce you to my subscribers. So also like people find my channel, for example, and they see like okay, it's kind of a community. There is plenty of conservative artists like who communicate, interact, and they're like keep doing their stuff. So it's not like marginal thing to
Mm.
be traditional. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. And I do think that the arts, think the tide's gonna change. So the arts generally, well, particularly in the U.S., I can't speak to the whole world, but it seems like particularly in the U.S., the arts have been very heavily left leaning. Pretty much, they have control over places like Hollywood and academia a lot. Just kind of the push from the left to control basically all of the institutions that produce art or that judge art, galleries and shows, award
Hmm.
shows, and all those things have kind of been taken over by one side. But I think that, that as they took over, they didn't keep the quality high, and so they started to
Oh
basically
yeah,
reward people just for promoting something that they agree with rather than creating good works of art. So I do think that there's an opening for those of us that are on the right or in the center that have something that's good, that's true. If we can if we can work on our ability to produce good works of art, I think there is going to be an opening to be able to make a living and see that rewarded in the coming years, because I think people are waking up to, oh, like I actually want to see things that are beautiful. I want to see works of art that are well done in my community or in um, you know uh, in public spaces and in galleries. We want to see things that are beautiful and that are masterfully done again. And so I think that for those that are dedicated, I well, at least I hope that for those that are dedicated, there will be kind of an emerging appreciation for the arts coming from the right, and hopefully that comes with sponsors and people that are willing to support the artists that are creating that. That's kind of it's kind of a leap of faith to try to do that, to try to be openly conservative in the arts. But it's what I chose to do, and I wouldn't have done it any other way.
yeah.
I think it's yeah.
Yeah, I very respect it because I understand it's like it's this kind of decisions when you make a real risk. It's not just all these people when they're like try to be like they want to feel themselves like a hero, like they're fighting for some good stuff for justice, but in reality they're just screaming from a crowd. They're at first they surround themselves with people who like cheer them up with all this like how say like validation, and then they just want to signal like, yeah, I'm part of your community, I'm part of your like wonderful movement. Like this it's like very easy and cheap. But when like I have this like recent experience as like it's yeah it's very discomfortable, but yeah, I just cannot stop, I guess we have this spirit like being little I don't know, let's say like when people saying stupid things, I don't care how many people is it, and I will even like keep speaking up even if it's danger for me. Just hard to stop,
Yeah, I feel that same way. There's a lot of people that I know that message me that, like, oh, that they're conservative sculptors. There's actually quite a few conservative sculptors, particularly in Utah, that are very talented. But yeah, you generally people that you don't know, they're in the arts, but you don't know what their politics are. Then a lot of the times they're more conservative leaning, but they don't speak up about it for that exact reason, that there's everything is so leaning the other way that it just loses you so much business opportunities and opportunities to market to people and to sell to people if they can't tell that you stand for anything, or that if you're um, just kind of this production, it's like this production unit able to create something or able to teach them something, but that you don't actually stand for anything. Oh, that's really more marketable. It's more advertiser friendly because you're
hmm.
not saying anything that could offend anybody. But I don't think that that's the job of an artist. I don't think that the job of an artist is to, as you were saying, just to kind of go with the flow and be one of the crowd, kind of. everybody agreeing with each other and patting each other on the back. I think the role of an artist is uh, to present your view in a way that communicates what you believe. That that job of an artist is really important for society, particularly um, when it starts to promote things that are untrue and things that are bad. I think that bad ideas um, deserve to be mocked and deserve to be ridiculed. I think good ideas should be, people should stand up for good ideas and say, "Oh, this is true," or "This is right." And bad ideas, we should say that that's kind of silly, and we should point that out. And so, but there's a price to pay for that. But I do think
Yeah.
it's a price that more people should be willing to pay, because if more conservative artists were open about it, I think that it would become more socially acceptable to be a conservative artist. Just as you're saying, building a community and recognizing that we're not maybe as alone as we feel sometimes. I think
Mhm.
that's a good, worthwhile thing to try to do.
Yeah, because like I see this like there is some people like who's really like fanatics, or I don't know, they just like brainwashed to this way, so they're not critical at all. They just pushing their far left stuff. But also there is a lot people in the middle who they just don't want to be in confrontation. And
Yeah, yeah.
I have this thing too. It's like, every time they make this situation. So when you say what you believe, just say it, right? Say what you think. If it's not follow their like mainstream, which is also fake kind of. It's a minority who is very loud, but they make this illusion of a majority kind of. So, and if you say something against their opinion, which is, I'm not like insulting anyone. I just say what I think. I say share my worldview. They immediately attack you, so they make you feel like if you tell what you think, if you be yourself, you being confrontational. So only way to be in
Yeah.
harmony, in peace with people around you, it's accept everything they say. It's like agree with everything. It's only way. Is this what happened? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's for those that don't know, I can share my experience with kind of being canceled. Um, 'Cause I don't know who knows or who doesn't know, but I did work for a company, a large company. It's based in California, and I knew the owner. It was a company that I started working with in college when I was building these courses, and we worked closely together to build the figure sculpting course. And because I knew the owner, and I've always been open about my beliefs, and so I kind of thought that I was, safe from being canceled for being openly Christian, conservative, right wing, Republican, having those views and being willing to share those openly. Um, but recently, within the last, I guess was it a month ago or so, and I got an
Hmm.
email from the company, very kind of sterile email saying that uh, basically that they felt like basically that I was prioritizing being able to speak about politics over my role as a teacher. So
Hmm.
as far as I understand, the company understood it that, oh, if you care about like religion and if you care about politics and if you're open about these things, that means you must not care about teaching sculpture. Like you can only do one or the other. You can only teach
Hmm.
sculpture or and be passionate about that, um, or be like able to talk about politics. And I don't see those as mutually exclusive. I think that you can be interested in politics and be open about politics and still passionate about teaching, even teaching people that you disagree with, which I'm totally fine teaching anybody that's interested in learning sculpture. I don't discriminate, or I don't. There's no sort of don't ask you to pass any sort of test when purchasing courses or even just enjoying my free content. It's all, I put a lot of it just out there for free just because I enjoy teaching. But a lot of people don't feel that way. They feel like, oh, if there's a person that doesn't hold like these views that I have, then I don't even want them to be able to make a living and feed their family. And so after I was just like a week after I did a little satire video talking about responding to a conservative commentator, somebody that I listened to, Matt Walsh. He was talking about sculpture actually, so he did some videos kind of making fun of
Yeah, yeah.
modern sculpture and stuff. And I did a video kind of pretending to be on the left and making fun of the leftist mindset, which instead of making an argument just calls names, like you just mentioned that instead of presenting an argument or saying why they think you're wrong or something, they'll just rattle off a bunch of names that they can call you to basically shut you up and stop the argument. So I made a video about that kind of making fun of those that come from that side and use that tactic of just calling names. And then I'm pretty sure that video had a lot to do with it. I'd also there's probably also a lot of complaints ever since I've been doing this sculpture of Charlie Kirk. I mean, I saw a lot of hate comments, a lot of open support for his assassination, or
Hmm.
certainly people that wanted everybody to understand what an evil person he was or what an evil person they thought he was, because I don't think he was a evil person. I think he was a great man, a great husband and father, and somebody that said a lot of true things. Um, and so there was a lot of pushback from that. And I think just all of that, the company just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And so they thought that the neutral thing was to get rid of somebody that's um, openly conservative. I think that kind of signaled that was kind of a bowing to the woke cancel culture left mob. And I think that was a bad thing for the company to do, because I think it's bad to reward people that throw a tantrum. And that's what I
Hmm.
see this mob as. And so I think it was a bad move for the company. I think it signaled that they actually aren't neutral. They want to fit into the like California left environment,
Yeah, yeah,
that is unfriendly to conservatives. I think that's the message that it actually sent. And
yeah. It's
so I think,
expected.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Sorry. Mm.
yeah. I mean, it's not well, yeah, it's not totally unexpected, but it was unfortunate. I respected the owner quite a bit, and we had a I saw him as a mentor and somebody I respected for what he'd built in his company, because he'd built a very successful company. And I think it's too bad that's the choice that he made. But he has the freedom to do what he wants to do with his company, and if he and I think in the end, hopefully it'll be for the best. But it has been difficult. Like if you're an artist, I'm a husband and I'm a father of, we're expecting our fifth, so it's
Mm.
very real when I realize, oh, this is like 85% of my income that I make every month, and that's going to evaporate in the next couple months. So what do I do to replace that? Well, fortunately,
Mm.
the company, they did transfer the rights to the first course that we collaborated on to me. I just had to remove their logos and products, and so I've been doing that and uploading those. But I was able to try to move things over, and hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to replace that income. But it is difficult, and kind of wakes you up to like, oh, the things that you say actually do have a cost. Now I think that was worth the cost, because I think being able
Mm.
to say what I believe is worth whatever cost I have to pay, because I don't want to self censor. I don't want to be that person uh, that self censors. And so, but I felt that cost a lot
Mm.
lately.
Yeah,
That there is a cost to saying what's true, and it's
yeah,
painful sometimes.
yeah. No, yeah. I've been watching your videos on this topic, and like, yeah, and I know who you're speaking about. And I hope it will be like change in the future, kind of, because I think it's just environment is very aggressive, and being company in this environment, like surrounded, it's so deeply far left. So you to go against this, it's kind of heroic act. You need to be like really, like it should be like really strong decision when you say like, okay, like I will sacrifice, I should be ready to sacrifice everything, because I can't just cancel everything you done, no matter what kind of company you have, anything. They have
Yeah,
this
yeah,
power.
yeah. That's true. That there's basically nothing you can build online that can't be canceled by somebody. So that is
Yeah.
just kind of the environment that we live in. That they can delete your accounts, they can delete your channels, they can, Google can do all sorts of stuff, and there's not a lot that a little person that doesn't have a big voice can do to stop that. But I think if enough people stand up and say, "Hey, this isn't right, and this isn't the society we should live in," people should be able to say what they believe, especially if it's just like reasonable points of view that pretty much everybody had 20 years ago. If it's just those saying like, "Hey, like maybe we should stick to the things that have been working," which is kind of the conservative position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like those things should absolutely be acceptable because they're just normal things. But they've changed it to make it seem like fighting for normal things is like radical, is extreme, and like impolite. Like it's just kind of rude to be a conservative. Like it's just unprofessional or something that you just shouldn't do. And I disagree, and so that's why I don't buy into that line of reasoning.
Yeah, I have my supporter from my channel, Charlene from France. She also talking a lot about this in France, like how many far left, like being like a problem in Europe. Yeah, so she congratulates you with children.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Children are the best. I'd say if you're young, have children, have more children than you can afford. That's what we did, and I do not regret it at all whatsoever. They're the best part of my life. There's a lot of people that say, "Oh, we need to like things are too expensive to have children," or it's hard to have children. But man, our great great grandparents, they had children, and they had just a fraction of the wealth that we have today. They did it.
Mm,
They did it in very difficult situations, sometimes in mud huts or whatever. People lived ways that we can't even imagine. They didn't even hot showers. There's something that was like we have just in the last 50 years or 60 years is when hot showers have become a thing. So like people didn't have the things that we have, and yet people say, "Oh, you don't we're too poor to have children." It's like people poorer than you, your great 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 grandparents that were much poorer than you had children, and they figured it out. And so I think that that excuse shouldn't keep so many people from enjoying one of the best parts of life, which is having children, being a parent. I'm definitely a pro family, pro parent. I recommend everybody prioritize that. It's the most beautiful thing, and it's definitely one of the things that gives me the most meaning in my life.
yeah, nice. So now you have like your farm, or it's just a house with a yard? Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it was a farmhouse. Right now we had some chickens, but they were eaten by I think an owl or something. Took all their heads off, so we don't have any chickens anymore. But yeah, that was dramatic. But yeah, we're in like there's a farmhouse, and then there's some barns on the property, and the biggest barn is where I'm at right now. And I've been fixing it up. It was really rough. It was just a horse barn. Um, and I've been just trying to improve it and work on it, and it's improved a lot. And it's nice to have a space that I can work on. I've done things like build stairs
Hmm.
and lay flooring and put up lights and run electrical, and it's just kind of a place to have fun and play almost in a construction type way, which I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoy. I think that there's
Yeah.
something creative about that as well. So that's where I am and where I've been working on making a studio. It's not insulated yet, so this heat gun is what's keeping me warm because it's still pretty cold and it's getting cold. Uh, but hopefully I'll get it insulated at some point and be able to keep improving it.
Mm.
But yeah,
Nice.
to do that, to afford that, we had to move. And it's an 18-hour drive from where I lived with my family here.
Mm.
So I guess people in the UK, they don't realize how big the US is, but it's like that's 18 hours. So if you just drove in a line for 18 hours in one direction, that's how far away I am from my family. And then we're about a
Mhm.
similar distance to my wife's family. And we had to do that to be able to afford a house. Now, fortunately, I
Mhm.
work online, and so I was able to look all over the country, and we were able to find better deals, but they were farther away from where we were. So that's something that I realized. Oh, if we want to have our own yard as a family, if we want our kids to play in the yard and be able to pay things off instead of just renting, we need to move pretty far. And so that's another sacrifice that we made because the income from doing what I do has not been spectacular, and so we've had to make cuts and sacrifices in other areas. But if you're willing to do things like move, then you can figure out deals a lot of the time and things that can make things work out if you're willing to make some sacrifices in some areas.
Mhm. Yeah, but it's also it's still kind of legal in your area to have like small garden, small like for a little
Yeah,
farm. Mm.
yeah, it's legal. Uh, we're in like a little small town. I don't know. You could have like pigs and other things, but
Mm.
chickens you can have. I don't know what the limits are, but we're in such a small town. The even if they have rules, a lot of the times they're not super strict about enforcing those. Um, but yeah, you can have animals and things.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also like from farmer family, no, not family, like environment. It's my grandma. She had like a lot. They have like some fields, pigs, like I think even cow. It was in my early childhood,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
also like my grandparents. They've been like pretty like big farmers, and they've been like the how's this word like they've been like kulaks, like so Soviet
Oh
Union,
yeah.
all these communists, they're like being like stolen all their property. Yeah, so it's
Oh,
like interesting.
that happened to your family, that they were a
Yeah,
part
my
of that.
grandparents. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay. So yeah,
Yes.
I don't think I've read the whole thing of the Gulag Archipelago with is that Alexander Solzhenitsyn, but I mean, just such a horrific thing. You see, people talk about like, oh, you guys are scared of socialism. Um, kind of attack people on the right for saying that. And it's like, well, if you understood what socialism leads to, what communism leads to,
Hmm.
the problem, communism always starts with this idea, oh, there's people that have a lot of stuff. It would be nice if they would give it to everybody else, the people that don't have a lot of stuff. The problem arises when you realize that somebody has to take that from them, and that gets very violent immediately because you're going to take something that somebody else has worked all their life for. So it becomes violent. It's a worldview that has done a lot of damage, and people that have come from those societies, I've spoken with people that have come from that. They appreciate the freedoms that we have, the property rights that we have. They appreciate that more than the people that don't understand what would happen if the society goes in that direction. Just turns very ugly very fast. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of it's so bad that people who live in far from it, they cannot comprehend it entirely. It's
Mm.
like it's impossible to comprehend. Like you need to prepare your mind for this.
Yeah,
Cause,
yeah,
'cause like
for sure.
communism is, or socialism, all this stuff. Like for myself, I create like very clear picture, and it's kind of, people can say it's radical or something, but I think no, you cannot be radical with this, because like it's absolutely like worst system you can imagine. It's like rule of the worst. So it's like
Mm.
practically you say you take like most um like depraved like lack of any moral people who get into power somehow. So it's like Putin or like all KGB. What was KGB is about? It's just a bunch of bureaucrats, like bureaucrats' children, or like criminals, like absolutely like ridiculous people. So, like everybody who knows them, they say it's just like uh, most immoral people you can even like imagine, or even you can't even imagine, just most immoral type of people. And the point is just to protect this immoral government from any uproar, kind of. That's it. It's not about protecting people, it's not about whatever, it's all about government. And like if we say like, oh, but they're like trying to make it like they're some kind of super agent, like Putin, for example. He been like advertising for so long time, like making his brand like he's kind of Soviet James Bond,
Mm.
but from like interview with other people from KGB, they say even inside KGB he been like a loser, like worst loser ever. So he kind of like a Biden or a Kamala Harris. He's been chosen as the most safe guy to kind of play his role of a leader of a country, And he just managed like
Yeah, yeah,
rat it out. Somehow he managed how to kind of like enforce his power, kind of to get over them. So he kind of being like more uh, experienced bureaucrat than other bureaucrats. That's it.
I
So
think
in
that
mhm.
that is a problem with communism or any type of central control where the government's making all of these decisions instead of people is it rewards people for basically just being able to stay in power, and it punishes people that produce and create the value in society, and so it creates these perverse incentives that just destroy everything. So it is a horrific thing. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure,
Y-
for sure.
Yeah, so they're like promise everybody everything. So and
Yeah, yeah,
it's so
and it'll
funny
be
because
free.
like if you speak with some like students or some like these Westerners or whatever about communism, you kind of say, okay, explain me what kind of promise it is, like what is system about, and they keep telling you like, it's everything good, everything perfect, everybody will have everything they want, everybody will have everything they need, and everybody who have too much, they will be like saved, they will be protected from these extreme unnecessary possessions and wealth, kind of, right? So everybody will be happy. And it's like, okay, like now explain me how it can work, because if we say this is not work, this is not work, this not work, say like, no, no, no. If you see any problem with theory, it means you don't understand it, because
Yeah,
only
yeah,
way to understand it is to realize it's a perfect. So they telling you should believe in utopia, but if you will tell them like, wait, dude, you realize like you're speaking like kind of like brainwashed fanatic, like you selling me utopia, you telling me you like you're believing utopia. And so no, 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 it's a progress, it's a improvement, it's a future. And then if we dig deeper to this, what in the core of all this communism, socialism, is that they telling you about utopia, and then they say, like what is actual way how we get there. To get there, we need destroy everything. We need erase, break
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
then you see here is a cliff. We all will jump over this cliff. And that's how we get to this utopia. And it's like, isn't it definition of a death cult? It's exactly death cult. So communist, it's always been death cult. It's kind of like, for me, it's like devil worshippers. It's like some kind of like ancient uh, weird kind of movement which like cannot completely disappear. Some people will keep invoking it and like trying to reinforce it. So now it's in the form of communism, but is
Yeah,
this like
yeah.
they're like possessed or something?
And people will say that that's silly. That like people will say, "Oh, it's not. It has nothing to do with Satan." But if you look at Karl Marx himself, the person that wrote the Communist Manifesto, he was very clear that he saw Satan as kind of this hero figure going up against God. That God
Yeah.
was kind of this tyrant, and Satan was kind of the hero of the story. And so, in a very real sense, it is satanic. The idea that we can that if you just give up your rights to property, your rights to um, kind of your own destiny, that the state will take care of you, and that we can create a society where there is no evil, there is no there's no badness, there's no poverty, there's none of this stuff that's just a part of reality. And there is something satanic about it because it's kind of a it's a it's a it's a it's something that can't exist in reality. And as I said, it just immediately basically breaks the commandment that thou shalt not steal. Like
Hmm.
you have to steal to make it work, because how do you redistribute the wealth from the wealthy people to the poor people if you don't steal? Like, you have to steal to make it work. And so it's immediately immoral from the very beginning. And yeah, I think that hopefully there will be more people that kind of stand up against this stuff, but it is difficult, because they're selling something that sounds so good.
Hmm.
You sound like that you're just being mean, and that's how they'll put it, is like, oh, you're just being mean, you just don't want to feed like poor people, or you just don't want poor people to have houses or whatever. That's how they'll frame it. But it's really like, oh, we just want to structure society in such a way that it continues to flourish. And what the ideas that communists and socialists are promoting reward the people that do not produce and punish the people that do produce by taking from them. And you can't run a society like that for long. It collapses, and we've seen it collapse over and over again. Everywhere it's been tried, it always collapses because it's built on theft and lies and kind of that utopian vision. So it's unfortunate because here in the U.S. it's becoming socialism is becoming more popular. Um, you know, communism and everything. Like, communism should be just as there should be the same stigma around communism as Nazism, because it's
Yeah.
killed more people. It's
Yeah.
just as evil a philosophy, but it sounds nice. And so, because it sounds nice, and because a lot of the people on the left are sympathetic to that way of looking at the world, it's not taught as the evil that it is, but it is a great evil that is really bad for any society that adopts its precepts.
Yeah, no, and they kind of keep perverting every meaning. So, like one of the result of this is that they make people believe Nazi it's right wing, when in reality
Mm.
it's by definition it's always been left. It's Hitler. He was like a national socialist. They're
Yeah,
socialist.
National Socialist, and
Always have been.
yeah,
Hmm.
And something that I pointed out in one of the videos that I did is that Nazism, the part of Nazism that was actually genocidal, that actually led to the Holocaust, was philosophy that was developed by the American left, which is eugenics,
Hmm.
which is based on the idea on atheism, that we can create our own morality, that there's no objective morality, we can create morality. And so and then also Darwinism, that if the Darwinistic flow of organisms improving themselves until they turn into us, and that must be a good thing, and therefore we can improve upon nature by removing genetically inferior material from society, which are people. And so that was developed by the American left, and that is the justification, the philosophy justification that the Nazis used to actually justify the Holocaust. They were saying we're improving humanity by getting rid of these
Hmm.
inferior people. They started with people that were disabled, and then went on to ethnic cleansing, and but the philosophy is one that still people on the left make the exact same arguments, particularly when it comes to abortion, when it comes to ending the lives of sons and daughters in the womb. They'll say the exact same things, the exact same arguments, that they'll dehumanize, they'll call the children in the womb parasites, or they'll call them
Yeah, it's
um,
crazy.
or yeah, or say that life will be better without him. It's better for the mother if this child doesn't exist. Like, these are all the same arguments that the Nazis used to dehumanize and then eventually exterminate vast swaths of their society. And so to call it right wing, it's like Nazis weren't bad because they were patriotic. They were bad because they killed a bunch of their citizens, and the
Yes,
actual
yes.
philosophy behind that was based on eugenics, which was created by the American left. So yeah, it is very dishonest to try to paint that as something that's a right wing movement.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so manipulative when they say like, "Oh, you kind of uh, uh, you want to have family." It's so Nazi kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have
It's
seen some of that stuff. Yeah.
like you drink water. Oh, it's you don't drink water too.
Yeah, yeah. Or yeah. Yeah, but there's a lot of things you could say. Oh, you believe in animal rights? That was, Nazis were big into animal rights. They were animal rights activists, which is true. They were very
Yeah,
pro
yeah,
animal rights. But the problem was they weren't for human rights. They treated humans worse than animals, and animals better than humans. And so that's one of the distortions of their philosophy. But you see that today, organizations like what is it, PETA or something, that treat animals. They'll speak up for animals, but they won't speak up for the sons and daughters killed in the womb. So it's like it's the same stuff. It's the
yeah.
same, like, dehumanize this group of humans, and then it's okay to end their lives. I think it's totally nonsense, and it's like you were saying. It's These are ideas that don't go away because there's something spiritual and religious about them,
Yeah.
and so the names kind of change. Satanism, Nazism, communism, but all of it is just kind of breaking away or trying to free ourselves from what we know to be right and true, and trying to
And
unburden ourselves from the guilt that we feel for doing what's wrong. It's a very
mhm.
spiritual thing, but people don't realize it, or they don't want to admit that it's a spiritual battle. That's one thing I really admire about Charlie Kirk, is he was not afraid to say that this is kind of a spiritual war that we're in, and he
Mhm.
was okay with speaking in those terms of the spiritual, that there are things beyond just material things, or policy should have in mind that moral framework that provides the foundation for our society, because if that crumbles, then there's no way the society can stand up.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
just Everything will crumble.
Oh,
And
you cannot
yeah,
just refuse spiritual reality. It's just really uneducated to trying to reject it. Say like, no, it's like we can be uh, secular kind of. There is no such
yeah,
thing as a unknown, spiritual, transcendent. It's definitely is, and everybody know it. And like you say, Karl Marx, communists, they all occultists. They always been occultists. It was never like a moment when they been actually secular. They all this kind of like agnostic or something, whatever. They all have like all the symbology all the time, and everybody in Russia, everybody know how all these elites in Soviet Union, they all super like extremely superstitious. It's kind of this thing when they, because they destroy all these traditional grounds, and then they just like went crazy for whatever kind of sounds and looks spiritual for them. And then like, you know, like Putin go and he go to kiss Quran, then he go to Orthodox church, like make cross on himself, and he go to this Russian Orthodox church, and he absolutely knows that this priest there is not a real priest. It's all Orthodox. I forgot how it's called, uh, like uh, priest community kind of. They all execute them all. Soviet Union like kind of destroy all a connection to a real Christianity. So there is only some kind of monks, but they all like marginalized. They live in somewhere hidden in kind of temples. But all this mainstream church in Russia, it's all they're like basically Kremlin agents, undercover KGB. So it's so weird.
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing about just just evil. You know, that we need to recognize that evil's a thing in the world, and that there are forces that will take over those institutions that are supposed to stand for something good. But if you don't guard those institutions, if you don't guard against um, that takeover, then something that was supposed to be stand up for one thing can stand for exactly the opposite. You have to it's those institutions, if they're hollowed out and then filled with something that's totally different. I think that's a lot of what's the problem with the universities, is that they've been kind of hollowed out, and their names are still the same, the diplomas are still the
Mm,
same, but the things that they teach are totally different. These universities were started by, they were Christian institutions to educate people in the faith and to help them understand the world that God created in a kind of an awe way, that we're marveling at the world that we live in. It was a created world, and that's what these institutions were started as. And now they're basically the opposite, where basically um, you're laughed out of the room for not thinking that rocks can turn themselves into people if you just wait a really long time. As far as like unguided evolution, I think that that's kind of a silly idea. That we know rocks don't turn into organisms. We can deduce that by how complex organisms are, and so there must have been something outside of matter, outside of this material world, that set those things in motion and created and designed life. And so we can see those things, but that viewpoint is basically like not allowed in universities. They're taken over. And so I think, if you have some common sense, you say, well, that doesn't really make sense, that rocks and water would turn into people over a long time. And they'll say, oh, it's more complicated than that, but that's basically what you believe. I mean, if you believe in unguided evolution, that's basically what it is, that chemicals became alive and then turned themselves into us. I think that that's a silly idea, but that's an idea that if I express that, they would say, oh, well, the belief in a designer is a silly idea. And so, we so I think there's a lot of lack of common sense in these higher institutions. They've been able to convince themselves of ideas that are so absurd that the common person would never believe it. So you have to kind of be trained to think this way and believe these things.
yeah.
And
Mm,
yeah, it's and you can get people to believe crazy things if you have, if you're coming at it from a position of authority and saying, we are we're the authority on this issue, and so you have to
Ah,
listen to us. And I do, yeah, that's definitely a dangerous thing. I think people are starting to see through that. They're starting to wake up, hopefully, or there's always people that are awake to that. That those institutions aren't what they used to be and aren't what they claim to be today. A lot of the time.
yeah, yeah. Так, okay. Yeah, so we already speak 1 hour. So I think it's just like I really honor it kind of and grateful.
Okay.
Thank you for coming to my channel. So I will also let me advertise a little. Так, what I have here. So I recommend everybody go to YouTube channel.
Yeah, the Andrew Joseph Keith YouTube channel. I in the links of all my videos, I put links to my online courses if you'd like to learn sculpting, figure sculpting, or portrait sculpting, or sculpting the hands. I have a stone sculpting course that'll be coming out soon. So I appreciate anybody that supports that way, or you can support me over on Patreon. All those links are in my video links on the Andrew Joseph Keith channel. So I appreciate any support at all.
Yeah, let's support great guy, great man, family man with yeah, big family. It's a very good thing to do. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.